Good day, everyone. I wanted to take a minute and just add a supplement to my PRC Taiwan analysis. I understand that I left out quite a few systems that the Taiwanese could utilize against the People's Republic of China, and I also obviously didn't touch on a lot of systems that the PRC could use against Taiwan. So just a brief video on some of those systems that I have left out. So the first one I wanted to discuss that I think would come into play heavily would be its 155 millimeter artillery systems that the Taiwanese possess. Obviously, these would have direct calls for fire onto the beaches and fires against ships coming into ports and landing areas. The next biggest threat that the Taiwanese could utilize would be its armored fighting vehicles and main battle tanks and light tanks to some effect. It does possess a few hundred M60A3s with thermal imaging sights armed with 105 millimeter cannons. Granted, a frontal aspect hit on a Type 96 or Type 99 Chinese main battle tank may not kill the main battle tank, but it would probably uh, cause significant damage to its turret drive and optical systems, thus kind of making it ineffective. But more important, these tanks, these M60A3s, could maneuver and attack ships coming into the beach areas at 2,000 plus meters out. I mean, these are big targets, and a 105 millimeter high explosive anti-tank round impacting on the superstructure of a landing ship tank or its bow opening area where it's going to release its troops and tanks is going to cause significant damage and casualties to those ships. And at the same time, the armored fighting vehicles that they possess with forward-looking infrared systems, 30 millimeter chain guns are going to be able to target and cause significant damage to the PRC. Another issue that I kind of touched on was the Apache, but again, yes, the PRC would have air defense systems active as they approach the beaches, but an Apache gunship armed with 16 Hellfire missiles on a reverse terrain feature, not being able to be seen possibly on radar, firing an anti-tank guided weapon system and hitting each ship with either a thermal barrack or high explosive anti-tank warhead, either again to its superstructure or bow, would cause significant damage and probably take that ship out of the action for a bit at least. And then if the Chinese do land, again they would be facing these calls for fire with a lot of artillery that the Taiwanese possess. Another issue that would come in, so the scenario would be that maybe the Chinese don't conduct a traditional amphibious landing where the ships pull up and release tanks and infantry fighting vehicles and personnel, but send in low-flying helicopters with commandos to land and seize areas. Those helicopters are going to come under immense fire from both wire-guided anti-tank systems to Stinger anti-air systems, which were used to great effect by the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. And these systems that the Taiwanese have are more advanced than those systems. They have advanced Stinger systems, newer systems that could cause significant issues for the PRC. But again, there's a lot of assets that I didn't talk about and still haven't talked about, but just naming a few more that would come into play against the PRC, and I think it would just make it completely unfeasible for the Chinese to mount an amphibious or heliborne landing against Taiwan mainland, or even the larger island in the middle of the Taiwanese Straits. But that's all I got. Give feedback if you have it, and thanks much.